All right, so we're gonna watch a match. This is Kane versus Rock. Okay, once again, courtesy of SNK, thank you guys so much for supporting me on this venture with City of Wolves, providing me footage to be able to bring to you guys, get some high level. You know, these are some developer matches. There's some really neat things here we're gonna take away. You know, we got a lot to cover, and we're gonna get it started. So, let's go. Without further ado.
Truth lies only in victory. Can you comprehend that?
Look at the dribble on man Kane. Obey your thirst, Rock.
Try to keep up, all right?
Round one. Get ready. Fight.
So we're here on Vox's stage. Brand new character here, Kain. Just got announced recently at the Evo Awards.
How about this?
Okay, good throw.
Can you endure this?
That Rock is in trouble right now. Oh, chip damage.
Now, do you understand?
I ain't gonna lie, Vox's theme is godlike.
Round two. Get ready. Fight.
Burn.
Whoops.
Humble before my ambition. Boy, this
Oh, I missed it. That was damage. Oh,
Boy, this
Kane, chill. He's just a boy. Oh, big counter hit.
class.
Okay, Rock. Drop. Unfortunate. Okay, run up throw. Just gonna get here.
Since you refuse to run, I will stay. We will fight until your spirit is broken.
Why are you so mean, bruh? All right, let's break it down a little bit. Let's break it down a little bit. So I wanted you guys to check it out because clearly, you know, Kane is new. They just recently announced him, as I mentioned earlier, and there's a lot to unpack here. Like, Kane is very unique in the sense that how he plays in this game in comparison to his previous iteration. If you guys play Mark of the Wolves, you understand he's a charge character. I believe he's still a charge character now, but he has a caveat now where he does throw up little flame orbs and he can detonate those, which does open up more potential for his offense and combos, etc, etc. Just want to go back again and take a look at some things here and kind of break some stuff down. Oh yes, feints are universal.
Truth lies only in victory. Can you comprehend that?
Gonna take you for a ride. Try to keep up, all right?
Round one.
Okay,
Get ready.
so I want to point out some things here. Just at the start, right? I want to point out that both players have picked their SPG in different spots. Right? SPG is a very, very big part of this game. This opens up your rev blow and also more damage. You can also use your rev blow and combos and things like that to be able to extend your damage output. So just to kind of open up, SPG is very similar to the TOP gauge in the previous game, but for the sake of SPG, right? Having access to a lot of damage with this amount of HP is pretty crazy at the start of a game. And then you can put it in 3 different places. It could be in the beginning, the middle, or the end of your HP gauge. And this really can dictate the pace of a match, right? Where if you have early SPG, you can potentially burst down your enemy with a lot of damage at the start of a game. Alternatively, your opponent could burst you back without SPG gauge, right? And take you out of SPG while still maintaining theirs at the later half of the game, whether it's their later half of the HP or the middle. That does play a crucial role in this game. Yeah, so let's get past that. Also, feint pressure here, right? So Kane does what looks like close D into feint, right? Right before Rock does his thing. A little hop kick there was a feint. So that's going to be a big, crucial part of this game's offense. This right here, which is why Rock mashed out in between. Yeah. So the feint pressure is huge in this game because it opens up more doors to how you do offense. It opens up doors for you protecting yourself on defense, right? Because if you feint cancel your normal, what ends up happening is, you know, you keep yourself from being in danger of things like guard cancel. I believe in this game it's called zero frame. It's a very, very unique mechanic in the sense that you can guard cancel into supers, you can guard cancel into like other moves to try to like reverse someone's offense. And really opens up a lot of doors in this game in the sense that like defense is going to be a very crucial part of this game. I have more words for that, but we're going to continue moving forward. But just know that that's very important in this game. And also there's a mechanic here called Wild Punish, which is essentially there's like high counter, right?
How about this?
It's a little bit before this, right?
How about this?
Oh, a little bit more. So there's counter hit. So wild punishes like that, they're basically like there's like counter hit and there's like high counter hit, right? So like in Street Fighter 6, you have counter hit and then you have like punish counter. This is the equivalent to a punish counter, but just for the sake of, we'll keep it as a high counter just to separate the two, right? So you have counter hit and you have high counter hit, which will be a wild punish. That allows for things like that you just saw here where Kane did sweep into sweep. I can't wait to see what other options we have other than just that with a wild punish on a knockdown, right? So getting an extra OTG hit to kind of close the game out or just do extra damage, it's pretty huge, all things considered, right here with how much damage Rock took off the wild punish here. So you can think of it as, yeah, I can also think of it as like a crush counter, you know? So that's another thing to kind of take note of in terms of the system mechanics. And then here, right here, you see Rock trying to go for a rev guard. So this essentially is the game's push block, or if you will, in Guilty Gear, Flawless Defense, Blaze Blue, you know, Barrier. It's the equivalent to that, and it does add additional pushback. So if someone's doing a lot of feint pressure, this goes back to what I mentioned earlier about the defensive mechanics. You'd want to use this or just defend, which is another defensive mechanic in the game. A lot of defensive mechanics in this game to allow yourself to gain more space or whatnot. If you just defend, you do get life back. It's not a whole lot, but it's like the hallmark of this game's defensive mechanics, right? You know, Street Fighter, when you parry, there's no meter gain. Well, there's meter gain if I recall, but not a whole lot. But there's also, you know, there isn't any HP that you regen back. So in City of the Wolves, and just a general thing in Garo, or Mark of the Wolves, City of the Wolves, both games, in this case, City of the Wolves, when you just defend, you do gain a little bit of HP back, which does keep you in the game. So when you're in position where you are at risk of chip damage, you can utilize these mechanics to protect yourself to either A, push block, gain some space and try to keep playing, or, you know, you get good at just defending and you can get some life back to keep you in the game. So essentially, if someone's trying to chip you out with a chip super, if you have the timing down, boom, 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 boom. Let's say it's a 5-hit like Fireball, boom, 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 boom. Get a lot of HP back, keep playing the game. So you're never truly out of the game in City of the Wolves, essentially. So again, big emphasis on the defensive mechanics.
How about this?
And there was the rev blow, as I mentioned before. So in this game, so this is the rev blow. As I mentioned before, you can only do this in SPG. You cannot do rev blow outside of SPG. So you know in Street Fighter 6, you have access to drive impact. This essentially is this game's drive impact. However, without SPG, you do not have access to this. So it's very crucial to know, essentially, taking someone out of SPG takes away one system mechanic. You know, and that system mechanic, honestly, is pretty important because it's big to your combos. For one, it's also big for your offense and even defense, because you can guard cancel into rev blow. There's a lot to unpack here, you guys. Like, this game's pretty wild. I've been watching. I watched every single video, and I can tell you guys right now, like this game's going to be pretty wild, man. Trust. But yeah, you only have access to essentially what will be Street Fighter 6's Drive Impact, only an SPG. So again, where you place your SPG is very, very, very crucial to having Rev Blow available. So let's continue.
How about this? Can you endure this?
Okay, Rock's SPG is now in play. Chip damage. Also, in this game, you do have chip kills. You know, Street Fighter 6, you do have your drive gauge, which does protect you from chip damage. But this game, in general, you can get chipped out. Which is why I'm saying earlier, you know, it's very important to learn how to just defend or use Rev Guard to be able to protect yourself away from essentially losing the game from that kind of kill. So it's good to kind of see a fighting game kind of re-embody chip kills, so you have more than one win condition. It's really nice.
Now, do you understand?
Round 2. Get ready.
Yeah, the meter below the health gauge is the guard meter. The guard meter mostly comes into play when you go into overheat. So to kind of explain it, might be a little bit tricky here, but this gauge right here, the big arch, if this is your rev gauge. If the rev gauge gets to the max, your character will glow red, and then you're in overheat. At that stage in the game, your guard gauge turns red, and now you're taking, now your guard gauge can get crushed, right? So you need to be careful about going into overheat. It's essentially burnout in Street Fighter 6, but like the caveat to it is if someone's doing pressure to you, you need to be careful. The neat thing is if you use your system mechanics, so like if you're using Just Defend and I believe Rev Guard, you will be able to regenerate. You can start decreasing the rev gauge, basically get yourself out of burnout. In like Street Fighter 6, you can't really get yourself out of burnout. It's a passive thing that happens unless you walk forward, which will, you know, in Street Fighter 6, that's how that system works. When you walk forward, you build more meter. Therefore, you walk forward. Same thing applies when you're in burnout, where you can, you know, get your meter back quicker by walking forward a little bit, right? So in that game, it's encouraged to walk back and forward. In this game, they encourage you to use your system mechanics, aka your defensive mechanics, to be able to slow down, or not to slow down, but to speed up the process of getting out of overheat. So essentially, to kind of put it in perspective, you're able to special cancel to special cancel to special cancel your combos, right? So these are like your EX moves. So you can EX to EX to EX to EX. I think you get like 3 or 4 of them in a single combo. And with that being said, if you do that and you exhaust all of that, then you go into overheat. So at that point, you want to try to get out of that as, I won't say as quickly as possible, because you can still play the game normally, but you got to be careful because, again, feint pressure is pretty big and stuff like that. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful. It's not that you can't win a game while still being in overheat. Trust me, you can still win a game while being in overheat, but it's not as punishing as Street Fighter 6, I would say, where you just, you know, you get DI'd into the wall and you can't really do much about it. Obviously, you can super and get back out of it, but this isn't Street Fighter. This is Fatal Fury. So you got to be mindful of how you spend your meter, or spend your EX cancels or your rev cancels to be able to do either A, pressure, or B, combos. So there's a lot to unpack here. Trust it. This game gets pretty wild when you start taking into consideration pressure options and things like that, and using your pressure options to beat the system mechanics, which again is what I'm saying. Like, trust me when I say this game is sick. This game is sick. But yeah, let's continue. Let's continue. Also, this game does have input throws like Street Fighter, which we saw a little bit earlier here. Comes like about here, yeah, like that. So it does. So basically, like, you know, I believe they put it in the game because everyone loves shimmies. It's one of the coolest things to see people get blown up on a shimmy. But I can guarantee you, this game isn't gonna be. This isn't really gonna be too heavily on shimmies. I can almost assure you this won't be a shimmy heavy game.
What's up, fam? How you doing?
You know.
Never forget about that, cause that's all we got.
Appreciate the follow. This game isn't gonna be super shimmy heavy. SNK games are known for having a lot more throw protection on your wake up as opposed to Street Fighter. So I doubt that's going to be a thing, to be honest with you, especially with the way the system mechanics work. Throws are going to be really good, but they're not. Simply put, it's not Street Fighter. This isn't Street Fighter. So I can assure you, from what I've seen so far, this won't be a super shimmy heavy game. Because there's stuff I want to tell you guys, but we're going to keep watching. All right. So this is what I mean about the rev gauge and doing the combos. So right now, Kane's at 50% rev gauge right now. Okay, there's one there. EX, EX. And as you can see, per EX move, coming back here, per EX move, Kane's gauge starts filling up. So it goes from like 20 to like 50% after he does an EX move cancel. An EX to EX move cancel. See? So we'll look at it one more time. 40, see, it's going down. Got his combo. Boom. Super. EX1, EX2. See? Alright, now he's in Overheat.
No class.
He has to get out of there.
You think it's over?
Boom.
You will.
And just so you know, the stars underneath the rev gauge, those are your supers. So if we do EX into regular move into EX, we'll get Kain. It has to be EX to EX. It has to be EX to EX. You can't go EX to regular as far as I'm concerned. Well, it's not as far as I'm concerned. As far as I've seen, but I think it's character specific. I've seen Vox do certain things that are like that, but that's because Vox has launchers. So I think it just depends on the character's combo schema, but for the most part, from what I've seen, it's been EX to EX to EX to EX. But I think you get like 4 of them, so it's safe to say essentially EX moves build up 25% rev gauge, because 2 gave Kane 50%. So you get, I think you get about 4. So you have to really maintain the gauge. Like I said, they don't really punish you super hard, but just know that overheat is gonna be a problem. Because when you get into feint pressure, I mean, just look at what Rock did already to Kane. You know, all things considered. Does EX moves require super bars, or they just raise overheat? They raise overheat. So remember, you see where it says overheat here in the bottom left, right? This here is that gauge. Like, it's separate. So the rev gauge is the arch, and the bars, the stars, those are your super. So everything is separate, right? And every EX move you do in general, raises the overheat gauge, or it raises the rev gauge. So that's what I'm saying. You want to be really smart about how you go about it. So essentially, like I said earlier, you can meter dump your whole, combo structure into your opponent and go into overheat and still play the game. But now you're at risk of guard crush. That's the caveat. If you go into overheat, now the guard gauge now becomes prevalent. So while it's very appealing to burst and do a big burst combo, right? You might want to consider how much rev gauge you have. How much do you have to go before you're in overheat is important. Because if you exhaust it, right? So take, for example, like we said earlier, right? If you put SPG at the start and you just burst your opponent down, you could essentially do, from what I've seen so far, you can bust a 50% combo out without a super, right? Maybe 40, 45-ish% damage. Like, let's just say round start, no one's got any super gauge. You land first hit while in SPG, you can essentially do 40%, essentially, with SPG. Outside of SPG, probably 35, right? Maybe 35, 38%, somewhere in that ballpark, right? I don't know if characters have different HP values, but on the strength of it being all equal HP, right? Let's say you get a 35% damage combo or 40% damage combo. That's pretty huge, right? But then if you go into overheat, right, and then your combo puts your opponent in SPG, they now have the ability to take away your SPG, which means you need to play way more carefully on top of having to deal with the guard gauge. So now if they're smart about it, which I'm already seeing this game in my head and how it's going to play out, like it's going to be a big tug of war with SPG, especially with guard gauge. All things considered, characters, when they're using their rev gauge, it doesn't have to just be for combos. You can use it for pressure. So Rock is going to be probably one of the more trickier characters. I'm going to be maining Gato and Dong Huan and a few other characters most likely. I'll be playing a lot of characters, honestly, but most likely it's going to be them two with maybe Mai. We'll see. Maybe even Preacher. We'll see. But point is, how you utilize your pressure. Some characters are going to be really good at guard crush, right? Everyone's going to be able to guard crush, but some characters will excel at it. A character I think that might excel at guard crush is probably going to be Preacher, right? So if you're in Overheat, right, and Preacher's in SPG, I'd imagine also in SPG, I'm not 100% sure yet, but I think in SPG you also do more guard gauge damage. So at that point, not only are you doing chip, but you're also doing guard gauge, which means if you're bad at the system mechanics, rev guard, just defend, you know, you need to learn how to do those things, but they can blow you up for that. So you see what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of things that come into play because just defend is done by tapping back. So when your character goes into absolute guard, you tap back and you're able to just defend, try to get your life back, meter, etc., etc. But if they call it out and they throw you or they, you know, blow you up for it, there's a lot of give and take with the system mechanics. So offense is going to be very unique and defense is also going to be very unique. So it comes back to what I'm saying. You need to be very careful with how you utilize your meter. It's going to be a very meter intensive game. It's going to seem very appealing to like burst your opponent down. Trust me. At the start of this game, when it comes out, everyone's going to be trying to just do these big burst combos and then get put in overheat. It's going to be, oh my God, I might get guard crushed. You are at risk of that. You are definitely going to be at risk of that. But without going too far, as you can see already, just in this one match, there's a lot to unpack, right? There's a lot to unpack about this game. That's why I'm very much so looking forward to this game, and I cannot wait for it. I'm really happy for this beta, and I know you guys are going to have a lot of fun playing it. But that essentially kind of rounds this match out. Hopefully you guys learned something. You know, talk to me. Let me know what you learned. And we'll keep it going. We'll keep it going. Got more. I definitely got more to show. Got more to show. Got one more. But that can do it for this video. Talk to me in the comments below how you guys feeling about this game. I want to get you guys some early Kane footage. So yeah, talk to me. Let me know. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.